the Bougainville Sasparilla slaughter of 2006. In tonight's special report, we will take a look into the remarkable mission that has come to be known as the Bougainville Sasparilla slaughter, in which two pilots of the famed Holy Terrors Squadron got a much bigger victory than they had been expecting, and the enemy got, quite literally, creamed. Of course, we've got the extensive computer-generated gun camera films that will allow our audience to view this mission exactly as it unfolded. In addition, joining us tonight are the actual pilots that flew this mission in the late afternoon and evening of May 6, 2006, over the east coast of Bougainville, the largest island in the Solomon Island chain. On my left, I have Bob Bozen, who flew this mission as Peabody in a Lockheed P-38 Lightning.
Good evening, Terry.
And on my right, I have Bob's son Adam Bozen, who flew as Big Pig in a Grumman F-6F.
Hello, Terry. It's good to be here.
Bob and Adam, will you tell us in your own words about this mission, and be sure to explain the connection with ice cream?
Well, we had no idea that this mission would eventually become legendary. To us, this started out as just another routine mission, except that due to shortages, several of our pilots couldn't join in.
We were tasked to soften up the big Japanese airbase at Kara on the northeast corner of Bougainville, in preparation for its capture by paratroopers scheduled for first light. Our ordnance guys set up our planes in attack configuration, loaded with Zuni rockets, in addition to the usual 50 caliber machine guns.
And 20mm cannon rounds.
Oh yeah, your P-38 had cannon too. Because my F-6F is powered by that big, wonderful, rugged, air-cooled Pratt & Whitney radial engine in front of the cockpit, we agreed that I would take on the bulk of the low-level work, while Peabody's P-38, which is a bit faster and a bit better suited for higher altitudes, would have primary responsibility for combat air patrol, ingressing, and egressing. Anyway, our approach to Kara Airfield was pretty routine. I got there first because Peabody had diverted for a minute or two to investigate a radio report of a bandit. But when he heard that somebody else had shot it down, he rejoined me just as I began my first low-level pass.
That's right. I watched you make a low-level pass at medium speed right through all of the anti-aircraft flak over Kara. They must have had coast watchers observing our approach because every cannon, gun, rifle, pistol, and pea shooter was taking pot shots at you. From my approach high above, I could see thousands of tracers and incendiary bullets converging on you. Fortunately, most of them were falling behind.
You should have heard it from my perspective.
Yeah. I was still pretty far away, but I saw you take out that first tank just as I armed my rockets for my own attack run. I picked up a lot of speed as I approached in a shallow dive. That ground fire was tremendous, and most of it was still aimed at you. I fired 3 shots at a second tank and I missed all 3 times. Then, seeing a third tank ahead of me, I tried to swing my nose up to get a good shot, but I didn't have time to line up very well. While attempting this shot, my gun sight swung right through the big doors of a hangar building with more tanks inside. I figured if I could knock out that building, I might prevent arrival of more tanks, so I let fly with 3 rockets, and 2 of them went right in an explosion. The building was still intact, but I heard secondary explosions, and they must have made an awful mess inside. Watching behind me, I zoomed up and out of the area, so I could turn around outside the worst of that terrible flak.
That's when I began my second pass, diving back in beneath and slightly north of you. The anti-aircraft fire was still bad, but a bit diminished from before. I got another tank near midfield, and I decided to stay low and make one more run.
Yeah, and I thought you were going crazy. Your plane must have been taking damage all through this time.
Yes, but the adrenaline was really pumping. Fortunately, most of the ground gunners had to reload about then, so the flak wasn't quite as bad as before. I took 3 or 4 hits as my left wing dipped right through a stream of bullets from one tank, but I was able to zero in on one that you had seen up near the vehicle hangar, and I hit him with 2 rockets and knocked him out.
That was some really great shooting. I wish I could hit with rockets like that.
I got lucky that time, with 3 tanks destroyed in 3 passes, but I paid a price. My airframe was full of holes. My engine was still running okay, but she couldn't climb very well. Acceleration was about half normal, and roll rate was reduced. I could see you in the distance way above me, but there was no way I could get up there with you, so I made a slow left turn and headed for home.
I knew if I stayed directly above you, I could drive any attackers away and get you home safe. So, after looking over the damage we'd inflicted at Kara, I turned right to converge with your southbound path back toward our home base at Kahili, climbing for altitude to make sure I could dominate any bandits that we might encounter en route. Within a minute or so, we were out of range of the enemy's big 37mm gun. Fortunately, we didn't see any bandits on the way back.
Yeah, I was low on fuel, low on ammo, low on altitude, and nursing a wounded bird. I didn't need any more action.
And that's when radio reports started coming in describing all the excitement among our victims back there at Kara. It was obvious that something was up. Emergency vehicles and medical personnel were scrambling to Kara from all over the enemy-held territories.
As I calmed down from the frantic combat, I found myself thinking of General R.A.'s posthumous birthday celebration. This was the first time he hadn't been with us. I knew that the refrigerator barge full of ice cream that had been specially ordered had been reported missing, and I was really bummed out about that.
Yeah, me too. It wasn't until we captured the base next morning that we learned the whereabouts of that ice cream barge, giving rise to the unique name for this mission. Well, as it turns out, the enemy had been suffering from hunger and deprivation for a long time, so all of their flag officers planned a big party when they found out that one of our refrigerator barges, loaded with ice cream, had run aground and been captured. The barge's refrigerators and precious cargo had just been unloaded into that hangar when I hit it with those two rockets, blowing sarsaparilla, ice cubes, hair, teeth, and flag officer eyeballs all over the place. That single pair of rockets had done more to destroy the enemy leadership than any other mission of that whole season.
Do you know exactly how many senior officers died with ice cream all over them?
No, nobody knows. The enemy has never admitted that this ever even happened. But we know that their entire leadership was completely unraveled at that point, and we were able to go from victory to victory pretty much unopposed afterward. Now, I'd taken a bit of damage from the ack-ack at Kara, but my P-38 seemed in good enough shape to handle a bit more combat. I took a minute to scan my instruments. I was flying level at 11,900 feet, which I hoped would put me a couple of thousand feet above the reported bandit. Indicated airspeed was 320 miles per hour with true airspeed at 360 or 370. Both engines were still running smooth with 54 inches of manifold pressure, indicating 100% military power. I had shed my drop tanks before attacking Kara, but I still had 50% fuel in my right main. With 77 cannon rounds remaining, my lightning was still potent and deadly.
I think you're understating the impact of those rockets back at Kara. I've heard reports that all of their senior officers were killed and that it cut the length of the entire war in half.
Yeah, I've heard those reports too. I think those reports are greatly exaggerated.
We need to get back to our story. We weren't done yet.
Yeah, not done by a long shot. Kahili Airdrome had been attacked while we were gone. I had seen small fires and service vehicles on the runways down there. Kahili Tower couldn't clear us for landing because of Coast Watcher and radar reports of another bandit approaching at medium altitude from the east. We were the only operational air assets in the area, so we would have to dispatch this bandit before either of us could land.
Roger, turning left to 300 degrees.
Kahili vectored me directly into the path of the oncoming bandit, and I soon spotted him at 12 o'clock low. He was in one of the P-38s that had been captured over at Torokina. I popped up, rolled over, and dove down on him at tremendous speed, setting his right engine afire and punching holes all over his wings and fuselage. He dove away, and I went up to set up another pass if necessary.
Engaging. Oh, that sun is bright. We're going right to the sun, okay. Rolling over, diving on this guy. He's about 2,000 feet below me. Tally one hostile P-38. I'm lining up perfectly on him. This is going to be good. Got about 100 miles an hour overtake, I'd say. He's filling my gun sight. Firing. Strikes on him. Okay, got some hits. Right engine now.
Looking down, I was horrified to see that bandit heading directly for you and firing. But I was comforted when you assured me that his fire went way over your head.
Big pig, watch out, he's firing.
Yeah, he was coming so fast that he was having trouble controlling his bird, and he couldn't aim. I had no trouble jinking out of the way. I figured you'd shoot him down or keep him tied up, so I turned my wounded bird directly toward the friendly field at Kahili, hoping the runways would be clear and that my dwindling fuel supply would get me there before my engine failed.
Yeah, he was really going fast. I cut back on my throttle to avoid going into compression and dove aft, watching my airspeed build towards near 500 miles per hour. He flew right past our main gun batteries directly over the airfield, and he must have taken some damage there, but he was still flying when he passed the far end of the field. I was gaining on him, but I couldn't take a shot until after he got out over the water and decided to turn into my attack. I hit him again, a couple of times. He set his left engine afire too, so I could see two smoke trails, one black, one gray, shooting out behind it. I still had a lot of speed, so I pulled my nose straight up into a high yo-yo to set up another attack if necessary.
And then your wounded quarry flew right into my weapons vector, so I decided to shoot him down. I still had pretty good speed for my descent, and he had used up his smash trying to turn inside of you, so I was able to maneuver better than him, even in my wounded F-67. I got in behind him, and there was nothing he could do. I shot him again and again and again as he tried to get away, lunging and lurching toward the coastline and shedding parts the whole time. His airplane exploded just a few feet off the ground. With you taking out both of his engines and our ground act perforating him from every angle, and me hammering his tail, his plane just came apart and showered pieces across 100 yards of tarmac. Then I saw another bandit inbound coming fast. It was enemy P-47 and was hitting straight for me. I was on the deck, couldn't dive away. I figured my only chance was to stay way down low in the blind spot beneath his nose during his high-speed approach and take a quick snapshot as he passed. His shots were going just inches over my cockpit as I hugged the ground, wondering if my prop was going to hit one of the towers below me. At the last second, I nudged my guns up just a bit and touched the trigger button. My guns flashed directly into his underbelly and I saw sparkles and smoke from strikes as he zoomed past and out of sight behind me.
At that point, I crested my zoom and dove down on him, arming my guns to cut him in half with a canopy shot, but it wasn't necessary. Big Pig had damaged him seriously, and it looked like he couldn't steer. He careened straight across our airfield at treetop level, right in front of our main ACAT batteries, and they made a hamburger out of him. He crashed, close to the wreck of the other P-38.
Looks like everything's clear. Nothing on radar. Looks like we can set her down. I've had about enough for one mission. Have you?
Yeah.
Victory roll and airfield off to my left. Coming in. Dropping my flaps. Lowering landing gear. Another click of flaps. And lining up. I can see you ahead of me and below me. Coming a little hot. Tower, this is Peabody speaking for the Holy Terror's flight. Request immediate vector for a quick landing. I might overshoot you a little bit. Can you scoot over to the right? You take the right half the runway. I'll take the left in case I have to pass you up. Come a little faster than you are. I've got some altitude to burn up.
Whew. I saw you turning on landing approach. I chopped my throttles, popped flaps, dropped landing gear, and vectored in behind you. A little hot in the overtake. I didn't know your engine was about to starve.
Yeah, it was a very near thing. It was remarkable, actually. I had used my last bullet on that P-47, and my engine ran out of gas about 10 seconds before my wheels touched down.
Now that was some mission. I still get chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, I think I'll bring a drop tank next time.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been War in the Solomon Islands. Until next time.